So you're creating multiple pieces of video content per day and you're still struggling to make sales. If you are an online entrepreneur who is using short form video as marketing in your business, this is for you. The reason you're struggling to make sales in your content is because you don't have a strategy. A posting schedule and just checking that you posted 3 videos today is not a strategy. And I want you to think of it like this. Let's say you're baking a cake, right? You have a recipe, a strategy is the same thing. I think the word strategy just scares people, so they steer clear of it. But if you're baking a cake and you forget 1 or 2 pieces of it, it's gonna be dry, or it's not gonna bake correctly, or it's not gonna rise. Same thing with your content strategy. Just saying, hey, I posted 3 times today, ain't gonna cut it. And not to scare you, but there are 9 pieces to building a content strategy. I know, you're already overwhelmed, but stick with me because I'm gonna break these down. Now, a lot of this is just prep work that you should have done when you started your business. So it's not that you have to do 9 different things in your content every day, but there's a lot of groundwork that you need to learn before you go out and start making consistent sales. Just like when you're baking a cake, you gotta preheat the oven, right? You gotta spray the pan or use some sort of liner that it doesn't stick. So first is your goals. You have to have goals for your content every month. Every single piece of content that you post should align with whatever your goal is, whether that's to grow your audience, whether that's to make sales. But you need to know your goals before you just go out there and start creating videos, because your call to actions need to align with your goals. Your content needs to align with your goals. Your branding needs to align with your goals. So that's step 1. You got to know that. Right now, you're probably not setting goals because you might be new, or maybe you've been doing all of these things and you haven't seen a result. So you're like, I'm just going to wing it. But seriously, when you have a plan, not only will you feel less overwhelmed, but you'll start to see a result. Step 2 is your offer. And there's 2 pieces to your offer. There's your ideal client, and then there is the actual offer itself. Your offer has to be for the ideal client. If you don't know your ideal client, you can't possibly post content that's going to convert to a sale. And if you don't know the offer, and you don't know the transformation, then you can't make call to actions or hooks or content that is going to speak to transformation. So you're not going to get any sales. So you got to know that first before you just go out there and start creating videos. Step 3 is your branding. And this is really broken down in the style, how you talk, the visuals, your colors, fonts, all of that, but also your tone of voice, what type of content you create, what's the vibe of your content, and your messaging. This is what's going to set you apart from everyone else on social media doing the exact same thing. If you don't know your branding, then you're going to blend in. So all of your content efforts are going to exhaust the hell out of you, and they're not going to bring a result. Step 4 is authority. You have to know how to build your authority. When you learn how to build your authority online, you're going to start showing up more confidently on camera. You're going to start being more bold, and that's going to convert those sales because you're not going to be timid or afraid to tell people why you truly believe your offer is a solution. So you're going to start solution selling, and that is the ticket, the winning ticket. But authority converts sales. People don't buy from people who are second guessing themselves. You have to learn how to build this. So when you learn how to establish and identify your authority before you start posting content, then you'll make sure that every piece that you post has some sort of authority in it, and it's not going to be wasted. Step 5 is your consistency. So you're probably thinking, okay, Elise, I'm posting 3 times a day. I've been doing it every day for like 90 days. Cool. But consistency matters across every single one of these elements. Are you consistent in your branding? Are you consistent in your messaging? Does your page look like Skittles because you're using 15 different fonts and colors? Is your messaging talking to 10 different people? Are you really dialed into your ideal client and what their desires are? Are you consistent in your posting? And if you are consistent into your posting, is it working, right? Because consistency is key, but consistently doing the wrong thing, still the wrong thing. You have to create a consistency plan before you create a content plan. Because if you are saying, I'm going to commit to 3 videos a day, and you only have an hour a day to work your business, and you're not batching content, you're not going to be consistent. So you need to know your time commitment and all of those things before you create a posting schedule. Step 6 is your call to actions. You need to write your call to actions before you start doing content, because you have to have the end in mind. Your hook needs to be directly associated with the result of your call to action. So when you kind of plan it backwards and know your call to action before you create content, then you'll be able to make sure not only is your content speaking to the desire, the transformation, the benefit, but also very clear and concise so that people do take action. Your call to actions have to also be aligned with the goals of the month. If your goal is to make 5 course sales this month and your call to actions are all over the freaking place, you're never gonna make a sale. People aren't gonna go just buy your course because they want to. Step 6 is your framework. And I actually break this down in 3 different pieces. So I have a monthly framework, a weekly framework, and then in my actual content framework itself. So when you're planning this out and you plan out your monthly framework, again, your goals for the month, planning out what topics you're going to talk about in your content that align with those goals, and then planning out your call to actions that are going to sell from those pieces of content. Then break that down weekly. Okay, so we know these are my 2 to 3 topics for the month. What pieces of content align with those topics and the call to actions each single week of the month. And then you're looking at your content framework. So your content framework has to have, of course, a hook to grab people's attention. You've got to have value and authority and branding, like we talked in it, and then a clear call to action. So all of this needs to be planned. 80% of your content is done in the planning phase. And if you're not planning it because you don't know how, that's easy. We can solve that problem. And if you're not planning it because you're lazy, you got to get over that shit. Step 8 is your visibility. So now that we have established your ideal client, your offer, your branding, your authority, we know how consistent you're going to be. We know what call to actions you're going to use. We have established your framework, so we know how often you're posting, where you're posting, what topics you're posting on. How are we going to be visible on the platforms? Because you need to be using things like, features in the platforms, SEO optimization. You need to be maybe using multiple platforms so that you're growing an omnipresence. But what does your visibility look like? How are we making sure that every piece of content that you put out into the world is not only favored by the algorithm, because I don't like my business hanging in the whim with the algorithm, but also we're increasing visibility by driving traffic to it. And then step 9 is actually leverage. And a lot of people might not be at the point yet where they're ready to leverage multiple platforms or ads or anything like that, but you still want to leverage your content with email marketing, right? So maybe we're sending emails to our list that are driving them back to our platform. We want to leverage our largest audience. So for me, right now, my largest audience is on TikTok. So maybe I make TikToks and tell people, hey, if you want to DM me, go find me on IG. I'm leveraging one audience to the other. But that needs to be part of your strategy for scaling in the future. So that's how you go from 5 sales to 10 sales to 50 sales to 100 sales and so on and so forth. So I know I just scared the hell out of you with all of these different elements, but if you made it this far in the video, I want to show you something super cool. I am actually teaching you this step by step in my upcoming masterclass, From Views to Revenue. And not only am I teaching it to you, each one of these is filled with checklists and templates and resources to help you put this into action in your business. There is absolutely no reason that you can't have an effective content strategy that not only drives views, but most importantly drives conversions. And even more than that, makes you feel confident in your business. You can show up every day doing exactly what to post, and you can stop wasting so much of your family time scrolling on social media, looking for ideas, looking for inspiration, because you'll know exactly what you need to be doing every single day. If you have not already grabbed your seat in my upcoming masterclass, I would snag it. It's right there in my stand store. It's $7. And if you're still hanging around, I'm going to tell you this, because if you've been here for any length of time, I'm not a hype marketer, but I'm going to tell you right now, this course is going to retail for a minimum of $297 when it goes into my store, because it is that fucking valuable. Templates, resources, everything you need to build your content strategy to start driving sales from every single video that you post.